going on, you guys? Welcome back to another Coffee with Kensou. And I got another coffee here from Common Bond Bakery. These guys are really good. That's some really good coffee. I don't know if they have any other chains outside of Houston, but I'm pretty sure they might. And if they do, go check them out. They have some pretty good coffee and pastries. Today, I want to talk about the low tier hero. And why it's okay to be a low tier hero and why it's not okay to be a low tier hero. And I guess we'll sprinkle in a little bit of why I should pick top tier at the same time. So let's talk about the low tier hero. The low tier hero essentially picks the weakest character in the game and goes on with the option selects when they win or they lose about their character being low tier. If they lose to you, they're playing low tier, haha, you're bad. If you beat them, it's like, haha, you're beating low tier, whatever. And they basically downplay their abilities as a player. They just downplay like the whole thing. Them as a player, you as a player, your wins, your losses. Like, you see what I'm saying when I say the whole nine? It's like a whole encompassment of just all that nonsense, right? And it really sucks because it's downright, in all honesty, disrespectful for you to or for a low tier hero to be that way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm always happy to see people try to overcome the odds and be the underdog and play a weaker character and show, that this character has, with time, this character has ways to win or maybe a good counter pick to a top tier or, because sometimes lower tier characters tend to have some weird, awkward matchups against certain characters. And a lot of people don't really know that because they're too busy playing top tier, right? Which is what I'm saying, sprinkling in top tier here. Sometimes when people get caught up playing top tier, they forget that the other characters actually exist because these characters up here have results and these characters down here don't. When really a lot of the times it just depends on, if there's a said player or player base that can figure out options and ways to win with the quote unquote low tier character to bring them up from low tier to maybe mid tier or maybe even A tier or close to top tier. Because as, time goes on, characters get buffed, nerfed, so that can round out the cast to where it went from this big gigantic spread to being a lot more condensed, and that's how you want a fighting game to be, right? You want to have condensed tiers where everyone can beat everyone up for the most part, and there's a you want to make sure there's an outplay factor, etc., right? But it really sucks when someone who picks top tier gets clowned on by a low tier hero because it's like, I beat you, and like I said, they use the option select of the 50-50. I beat you or I lose, therefore I play low tier, right? Now, you guys, I forgot to mention, I do have people here working on my roof, so if you're hearing thuds and noises or toot 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 toot, that's because they're working on my roof. But that aside, it sucks. Now, I think one of the biggest things when it comes to picking low tier, especially for you guys who like to pick the weaker characters, right? There's a couple things I want to mention. It's okay to enjoy the character. No one's going to take away you enjoying your favorite character and you wanting to be competitive with your favorite character or just play your favorite character just because they're your favorite character, right? Whatever your reason is for picking your character, it's cool. I would hope it's not because they're the weakest character and you're trying to prove a point. If it is, good luck. With that being said, it's cool that you're doing that, but at the same time, you have to accept, right, that you picked that character, right? I guess this is kind of another subtopic in a sense with this, right? Is acceptance. You accept the difficulty. It's like, Mission Impossible. Should you choose to accept this mission or not? Blase, blase, whoop-de-whoop. You chose to go on Mission Impossible with the weakest character in the game. If you chose to play, I don't know, Nash against Cammy in Street Fighter 5, that's your bad, Cammy is really strong and Nash is not very strong, I don't know what it is like in the season, but prior to this past season, this isn't about Street Fighter 5, mind you, but I'm just using it as an example. That character's mad good, and if you pick that weaker character against that stronger character, that's you have to be the one to win it. you know, and you don't have to gloat that like I'm better than you because I picked low tier. That doesn't mean anything. Like that, the other players probably not used to the matchup, you know, and that's another thing. You know, some people pick low tier because people don't know matchups. That is true, but like even still, you can't hide behind the gimmick for so long. Is another point I'm trying to make. Like you really cannot hide behind a low tier character's gimmick forever, especially if you're playing on a competitive level. Let's say it got streamed, or you're playing in tournament, your match is on stream, you beat some good player with that. That information is now exposed. What's gonna happen? Everyone's gonna do a couple things. A lot of the time what happens is a lot of people tend to think that maybe this character's not that bad. I'm gonna go check this character out, they're gonna play him, and they're gonna lab the situations, you know, at least the good players are gonna lab situations. And it's just gonna turn into a situation where like that, whatever had that character winning previously, that will not be there anymore. You know, or it expands into something else. So it's kind of a 50-50. But if the character is really just outright just weak and just doesn't have really good options, people are just going to be like, oh, well, you know, maybe you got lucky. And even then you get outplayed. That's your fault. You know, it is what it is in that regard. But people are going to dissect it and they're going to eventually figure out how to beat it. So you can't rely on the gimmick forever. You know, I think at the same time, while I encourage, you know, discovery, creativity and things like that, you know, much like, you know, a poker game of Texas Hold'em, you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them. There's times where you may want to pick another character. You know, having a secondary doesn't hurt. You know, some people who play low tier like, I don't need a secondary, you know, that some games you might need it. You know, a lot of people would say Street Fighter 5 you need a secondary. You know, Tekken having mastery over one character is pretty good in Tekken, but I won't kind of stretch it along into many different games. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't deny top tier. You know, don't be stubborn if you're a competitive player, you know, with the low tier, unless you just really want to do it that way. It's okay to have another backup character. You know, obviously your backup character most likely won't be as good as your main because they're a sub character, right? You pour most of your time into your main character, so like, if you're, you know, have a time divvy, you probably have spent 60% of the time, or maybe even 70% of the time playing your main character. The other 30% of your time is playing the secondary to kind of help compensate for certain matchups, right? And you're only playing them for that matchup. You're not playing them nearly as consistently as the other characters. So there's going to be some discrepancy on how strong or how weak, you know, your secondary is going to be. So you have to keep that in mind, you know. And then the other thing comes into play where it's like, well, why keep playing the weaker character when you've already put in this much time with this character? Just make the switch. And I'll be the first to tell you, I know how difficult that may be, especially if you have a lot of character loyalty, you know. And sometimes it's hard because you want to stick with the character that you're playing and you don't really believe that you have to switch, and rightfully so, but you got to put in that lab work in order to not want to have to do that. Also, don't use, a thing I want to put out there too about playing like low tiers is like, in playing low tier, don't forget to be creative. Mind you, I'm not trying to just down the low tier hero here, but like, I want you guys to know, like, I guess at the end of the day, like, accept the life that you chose. Don't option select. Just accept that you picked this and you have to be as strong as you can with it. You know, as someone who's played quote unquote low tier, you know, Chip was considered low tier for a long time. I still played him, but I never denied picking a top tier to help me stay in the tournament. You know, like, if you're gonna play in a tournament, obviously you're gonna want to have a backup to keep you in the bracket. You don't want to just like, I think it's too difficult, especially for like, you know, newer players to try to do that. I think if you're more an advanced player, I think then it's kind of like okay, but even then it's not as recommended. Just pick a damn good character, honestly. But you know, if you want to go that route, you can, you know. So yeah, being a low tier hero is difficult. I don't really recommend it. I think you should, I don't know, being a low tier hero is hard. And it's hard to, you know, and I think one of the things that's kind of hard to do is, it's kind of sometimes hard to tell someone, you know, hey, you know, you're playing a really bad character. You know, you might want to try something else. No. I love this character. I'm going to stick with this character. You know, sometimes character love goes a really long way, because who knows, the next season or the next patch, that character could get completely buffed, and all that hard work and effort from being a low tier hero is going to pay off because they have the foundation. So sometimes it's kind of a catch-22, right? Sometimes you're damned if you do, sometimes you're damned if you don't. But, you know, as someone who played a character that they really enjoyed and loved for a long time, sometimes it's really difficult to tell someone to not do something, you know? And a lot of times the saying of, I don't know, saying that it's hard and difficult, sometimes it just pushes people to have that resolve to try to push the character. And sometimes the meta will shift into that character's favor. You just never know. But don't option select. If you're out there playing weak characters on a tier list, don't be making option selects. Just accept. Acceptance. I'm gonna make a video on acceptance, actually. I think acceptance is pretty important to talk about. And there's all kinds of different levels of acceptance, but I'll save that for another video. So I think that's kind of all I gotta say about the low tier hero. Before I get up out of here, a lot of you guys watching the videos are not actually subscribed. You know what you gotta do. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that button. Notification bell. Press that 2. Stay up to date. That means current with the channel and everything and anything that's happening here. It all helps me grow. It all helps this channel and me get to the places in which I'd like to be with this content creation stuff. Because I love content creation and I would love it to stay doing this. This has become essentially my gig now and I enjoy doing this. Yeah, so please support where you can. Anyway, tell me how you feel about the stuff in the comments below. Do not be shy. I love to talk to you guys. Talk to me. Anyway, I would do the usual thing and say go play more Guilty Gear, but sure I know what time it is with that. So do it.